Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi guys. Islam Makhachev versus Ian Garry just got announced, and honestly, it's a much closer fight than what people are anticipating. Like, bro, I know that Islam Makhachev is obviously, in his previous fight, we have seen that he is basically levels beyond any other top strikers in the welterweight division. But the thing is, people don't realize how well-rounded of a mixed martial artist Ian Garry is, and the fact that he's the only man who went to the distance with Shafkat Rakhmonov, even winning 2 rounds. And the thing is, that was an Ian Garry who was on 2 weeks' notice. You have to understand that, right? And with the fact that recently Ian Garry went to Georgia to train his wrestling for his upcoming fight against Makhachev, I feel like it's just it's gonna be a really hard night for Islam Makhachev. And Ian ain't one of those guys who's just who just has a one-dimensional thinking of how to get the win. I'm sure that Ian he's ready for anything that Islam Makhachev is about to bring to the table, and he's someone who he will obviously try to box with Islam Makhachev. And honestly, at welterweight, I feel like his boxing is better than Islam Makhachev, especially with his boxing mixed with leg kicks and other Muay Thai, other types of other forms of striking. But if Islam Makhachev, let's say, manages to get him to the ground, right, I can see him win the rounds. But the thing is, I don't see him completely controlling the pace and hunting for submissions like what he did against Jackal Medlena, right? Because if Islam does manage to get Ian on the ground, either it's gonna be that the fact that Ian Garry will get up or try his best to get up, or Ian Garry will most likely just be there stranded. I mean, he won't probably take as much damage as JDM, because obviously he has much better, he's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. I mean, he has much better jiu-jitsu than, and also he's, as I said, he's training wrestling in Georgia, so that should tell you a lot about how this fight will go down as well. But the thing is, for this fight, Islam Makhachev will probably be a huge favorite, and personally, I'm right now, at least, I'm leaning towards Islam as well. But recently we have seen 2 huge upsets in MMA, and Islam Makhachev is basically another one of those guys, another one of those types of guys who has this invincible aura until it gets cracked. And the thing is, it's not just with Khamzat and Tuporia. Also, a few, just not even a year ago, like just 6 months ago, right? Merab Devarashvili, he also had this type of invincible aura to him, until obviously he got cracked and absolutely obliterated, unfortunately, against Peter Yan. But the thing is, I'm not saying that it's gonna happen this time against Islam. I'm just saying that it is a possibility, and especially with what we have witnessed just 3 days ago, Ilya versus Justin, you have to realize the realistic outcome of this fight. Do not be surprised if it starts, if Ian starts winning some rounds, and it may, the fight maybe shifts to the direction of the other. Do not be surprised, because this is the highest level of MMA basically. And at this level, I know that Islam obviously looked absolutely obliterated Jack Medlena in the last fight. But the thing is, Jack was never really well known for grappling at all. I mean, meanwhile, on the other hand, Ian Garry, he is well known for being good against grapplers like Belal Muhammad and Shafkat Rakhmonov, even though Belal striked on purpose. But the thing is, right now, and another thing you have to realize is that Ian Garry, he is one of the most fairly confident fighters out there. Like, he isn't overly cocky like Tuporia, for example, but also whatever he says, he really does mean it, and he really does think about it a lot before saying it. For example, when he fought Carlos Prates, right, and we know how good Carlos Prates is. Like, we absolutely know how good Prates is, and the thing is, he managed to beat Prates, even though he nearly got knocked out in the 4th round. And stylistically as well, you have to think about it, right? Prates' striking is obviously much better than Islam Makhachev. I'm not saying Islam has bad hands. I'm just saying that at welterweight, I feel like he can't really stand up and box with these guys. Like, he has to take him down and has to land a grounded pound when it comes to damaging them with hands and with legs. And on the other hand, you have to think about the fact that Carlos Prates, I'm honestly glad that out of all of these guys, Ian Garry was the one who got picked, because he genuinely deserves it more than anyone. Because, bro, just think about it. He obviously, Bilal was the one who was supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov in the first place, right? And during that time, both Shavkat and Ian Garry were undefeated. But obviously, Ian stepped in last hour to save the show, and 2 weeks notice, still had an toe to toe, still not only went to the distance, but also 1-2 rounds against Shavkat Rakhmonov. I mean, Shavkat almost submitted him, but he that was amazing what he did, surviving that rear naked choke. Like big ups to Ian Garry, bro. And after that as well, just staying consistent, being active, hurting Shavkat in such a way that he basically retired, without making it official, right? He went out of the rankings even, Shavkat Rakhmonov. It just goes to show you like how as I said, fairly confident Ian Garry is, and he definitely does deserve all the credit he gets, and definitely. But also another thing is he is extremely respectful, Ian Garry, for his standards, right? Because obviously we know him for being best friends with McGregor and stuff, but the thing is he is surprisingly really respectful and honestly a really likable personality. I know he has a lot of controversies, which is why people hate him, and find him annoying. But I honestly bro, big ups to him, bro, respect. And I find him not a very likable personality, to be honest. Like just as a fighter, like forget the stuff outside the cage, just as a fighter. And when it comes to calling people out, being respectful and that stuff, right? But yeah, and also another thing is he says that if he does ever get a rematch with Shavkat Rakhmonov, he will absolutely beat him, and I also believe that as well. But yeah, anyways, just to take on this, guys, you guys definitely sure what you guys think. Who do you guys think will win this fight? And if you think it will be close or one-sided domination, personally I think it's gonna be close. But yeah, Islam Makhachev most likely 48-47 or 48-46. But inshallah, see you in the next game. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.